Here's a pretty neat hike going up Jupiter Mountain, located above the Bouquet Canyon Reservoir in the Angeles Forest. And to get us started, we found a parking area just off of Spunky Canyon Road. Across the road, we found a trail getting us started up towards the mountain. There's a closed gate across the trail at this point, so we have to climb over a low-lying fence to get beyond it. A little bit beyond here, we run across a fork in the trail. The Jerry Shad book that we had describing this hike told us to go to the left. And so we did. At this point, it looked like a pretty good trail with a moderate slope. For some reason, this just didn't seem right, so Dale was checking the hike description again. We decided to press on because we were getting some pretty nice views along the way. Much of this trail was composed of quite loose material, and with the slope picking up, it made for fairly slow going. And here we could look back toward our starting point, and we noticed this unusual looking area along the side hill, which looked like it almost had been planted. Perhaps it had been. And we could also look over and see Bouquet Reservoir below us. We also noticed that the water in the reservoir looked fairly low. I hope this doesn't mean we're headed for any water shortages this summer. And then the slope of this trail really started to pick up. As Dale surveyed the trip ahead, but nothing to do but keep on going. But it began to appear that this was more like a fire break than it was a hiking trail. But we did have some wildflowers along the way to keep us company. These are always something that gives us a little plus along these trails. It seemed that once we reached the top of one rise, there was another one on beyond it. And so Jack plodded his way on up the next one. We finally decided that this wasn't the trail described in the book, and it was in fact a fire break going up the ridgeline. But with frequent stops, I was pretty sure that my almost 85-year-old bones were going to get me up there. And then the top, a little over 1,000 feet in elevation gain from where we started. Someone had conveniently placed a circle of boulders at the top, so one could sit down and rest a bit. But the view from up here was really something to behold. Here's a look down at the Bouquet Reservoir below us. And then in another direction, some more of the mountains surrounding us. That zigzag line coming down the side of the mountain is a pipeline bringing imported water down to Bouquet Reservoir. Dale looks out from the top to take a picture. And a beautiful picture it is. We have almost a 360-degree view. Well worth the trip up here. Jupiter Mountain is actually composed of two summits. We're on the east summit, and over there is the west summit at about the same elevation. And from here we can also look over and see the town of Green Valley down below. This is a neat community nestled up here in these mountains. Then to go back, we decided we'd take the trail that we thought we were going to come up on. So Jack starts down to the saddle between the two summits to find that trail. And to get down there, we found that this trail was in spots rather steep and somewhat unstable. Some more slow going. But then things kind of leveled off, relatively speaking, but at least it was all downhill, and also quite overgrown in spots. Here's another view of the Green Valley area on the way down. This trail hung on to the hillside, wending its way on down. This trail was generally in pretty good shape, although it did have an awful lot of loose material in a lot of spots, making the footing a little bit iffy. And then the end in sight. Our car parked in the area along Spunky Canyon Road, just over the tops of those trees. After a pretty neat and quite energetic hike.